Friends, how are you doing? Listen, I know it's going to be a long 3 days. It's going to be hard for us, okay? I know it, but we're going to have Saturday, we're going to have Sunday here, and then we're going to have Memorial Day, 3 days off of the market. Now, when the market opens back up here on Tuesday of next week, we could see it do very well here because we've had essentially, this is a pretty boring week. I think it was a great week to buy in, make some new positions, move money around here, there, and wasn't a crazy week. I think Big Bear had a pretty good week, honestly. I mean, if anything, blew me away this week, it was Big Bear 100%. But I want to talk about Sofi because I obviously seeing a lot of comments about Sofi, what people are saying about Sofi, and Sofi is still very much in this category of it angers people. It infuriates people, and I get it. It's been kind of the same old conversation here with Sofi for the past year, 2 years at this point, since they come out of COVID, demolished as a company, and then rebuilt themselves, and now we're seeing them finally get into some heavy earnings here. So let's break down Sofi. Why is it not moving harder? Why is it not an $18 stock yet? Why is it not making us a millionaire yet? And I think these are common questions that a lot of people are asking and wanting to know. I'm going to try not to talk long. I'm losing my voice for some reason. I don't know. I was out in the garden too long or something. I don't know. But let's go right into it here. And So Sofi, the bullet point good things of Sofi right now are that Sofi is still in, it obviously is making great money. It's killing earnings. Every time it comes out with a quarterly here, it's executing the quarterly better than what it's supposed to. Last year was probably the biggest year for Sofi. A lot of deals, a lot of great quarterlies, and Q1 of this year so far has been very telling that the rest of the year should be very good for us. And, by the end of this year, Q4 of 2025, we could well be $900 million range somewhere, if not at $1 billion, if stuff really were to pick up here heavier, for, quarterly wise. So, revenue is increasing heavily, new customers opening bank accounts increasing heavily. So with that too, Sofi is still in this, with the public view of, articles and stuff like that, it's still in a very good realm. It has a very strong foundation built around it. So, and this is new because, a year or so ago, toward all of 2023, even towards the beginning of 2024, Sofi was in this place where you were reading a lot of negative articles about it, that it just wasn't, the revenue wasn't coming in fast enough, it wasn't doing enough, and things have really changed here. Like I said, 2024 was a fantastic year. It was the year that Sofi needed to prove that they could continue to push into higher earnings, push into, keep, proving the bears wrong. And the futures should be good here from what we're seeing. They're looking good from what we can tell at this point for what's coming here the rest of the year. So anything else at this point is just cherry on top of the cake here. It's just cherries on top of the cake. The stock price. When I look at Sofi, and listen, I do want to say this, I am still very much a heavy investor in Sofi. I have been swapping Sofi in and out, buying low, selling high, because I do think that Sofi right now, until market gets into, a more structured place, especially until the S&P gets back into a 6,000 point range, Sofi is probably going to travel around this high $12 position, middle ground $14 position. So, saying that, Sofi honestly is in some very decent high middle ground, I would say. Obviously, it was a bit of a challenging week for Sofi. Last week we had a really good week with Sofi, and then this week we just it just sold off completely. Everything we built into last week, really, we lost a good portion of it. So Sofi has ended this week, at right over $13. Last week we ended, right over $14, so we essentially lost $1 this week almost. But still, this isn't something that scares me with Sofi. The one thing that comforts me with Sofi 100% is that this is a company that is still bringing in fantastic revenue. Okay, so that, that's always the main thing you want to look at when you're investing in a stock. Okay. whether it's short term, long term, because it guarantees that the stock is going to be, have life, have a pulse, have movement to get you in and out of positions in it. So, SoFi is giving that to investors right now. I mean, to me, I think SoFi is a fantastic stock to trade, to weekly trade, day trade, short trade, puts, options, whatever you're doing with it, long term, build a position into it. Because I do think that, and I'm drinking the juice on it 100%, that I do think that SoFi is a company, is a new breed of banks, that it is going to be later in the future. It's going to be a predator for other banks. I think they are going to continue to rise with quarterlies. I think they're going to rise with, capturing the newer generation of, kids, young adults opening bank accounts because of what SoFi's platform offers, that it's so easy. It's such a easy stock, easy bank to open a bank account with. It's free. You get a checking account, savings account. The application to just trade stocks on their platform, loans, car loans, house loans in general. Everything there is before you. So essentially, SoFi is essentially like an online bank, a platform. They're not really brick and mortar. That's not what really they push into, and that's what they know that. That's kind of like their bread and butter of what they go off of. But with that, they got their stuff together when it comes to, their platform, their online banking. I mean, it is so good. I bank with them, so I have an account with them. So, I have nothing but good things to say. I mean, they are just wonderful. So like I said, I'm drinking the juice. If you're looking for negatives with SoFi, I may not be the person you want to listen to here. So, but then talking about the negative, more than not, what I see, I think it's a little bit simpler than what people think it might be with SoFi. And this is me being in the market for 10 years now, investing. I do think a lot of what goes on in the market is just people's attention to detail. It 100%. It's flashiness. It's what's in the zeitgeist. What's in the feeding frenzy right now with certain stocks. Obviously, what is the main attraction right now with most stocks, most investors? What are they looking for? They're looking for AI stocks. They're looking for tech companies right now. And more than not, they're looking for tech companies that haven't really broke out yet. And that's why Big Bear's been attracting so much attention here as of late. So SoFi, SoFi is, there's a lot of tech around them as a bank. They have wonderful software, wonderful position that they have built themselves into here, a foundation. But at the end of the day, they're just a bank, okay? And people know that. So it's not as sleek and sexy. And I do think that more than not, unless something were to really drastically change here, which being so early in the year, I definitely think that's possible 100%. SoFi right now is still in a position where it has not even broken into $900 million quarterlies yet. Now, if we can get there this year, get into a position where SoFi really starts to tear down these $800 million positions, these quarterlies that we're going into now, because essentially that's where we're at. That's where we're going now. That's pretty much the next step here. We're very close to this point, and how far the quarterlies are jumping at this point. More than likely, that's pretty much coming up here soon. So if they can get into a position where they really start chipping away at that kind of revenue, it's obviously going to make the stock jump a lot more. Now, I do want to say that, this has been the situation. So like I've been saying here, I say all that to say this, listen, I've been here with SoFi. It's not a tech stock. It's a bank stock. And SoFi has always repeated the process of quarterlies happen. It sells down, runs a little bit, sells down more, gets quiet for a little bit. And then somewhere, when the market starts to run pretty aggressive here, SoFi will, take off too. So I still think more than likely, sooner than we think here, SoFi is going to run here. It's going to be back up into a $14, $15, $16 position. And before we know it, we could easily be into 17 to 18. So I'm still in this whether you hate this or like this, I'm still in this conversation is still pushing, and I will defend SoFi 100% when I say that I do believe that it is going into a $20, $30, $40 stock here within a year or two. If not sooner. I think it's highly undervalued at this point where it's going here. So, I mean, like, even look at something like Hims. Like Hims is, pretty much new to the scene, but Hims is growing so aggressively right now in stock price, and SoFi essentially is like, they've been making more money than Hims, but Hims the past few quarterlies, now the last quarterly especially, has jumped so massively. This is why you're paying $60-$70 for Hims now, and who knows, Hims might just run to like $90 to $100 here, because people are so in this this camp right now of like, well, how high is Hims going to go, especially leading up to the next quarterly, because the expectation is growing at such a fast rate right now. So, friends, I just want to encourage you that SoFi is it's a good stock. It's a good company. Things are happening. I know it's not happening as aggressively and as fast as we want it to. I'm in that argument with you 100%. But when I look at SoFi, I go, it's a good investment right now. From all the evidence we can see is that it's growing in revenue, it's growing with customers, it's growing with its tentacles reaching out into platforms, businesses, and where it needs to go. So I still stand by SoFi, and I'm not gonna say it's something you shouldn't be a part of. Okay, listen. I used to make videos where I would talk about stocks that I would say like, hey, I'm not putting money in this. I'm not investing in this. And those videos would never do well for me. It would just be met with complete negativity. And I get why. But so, when I talk about a stock on here, it's usually about something that I'm curious about and just, wanting to talk about it, or something that I'm investing my own money in. So, that's why I don't talk about a lot of stocks that I either don't invest in or that I just don't like, and that's one reason why I stopped talking about Fubo so long ago. I think I made a video a month or two ago about Fubo, and I told people why I don't invest in it anymore. And I made that video because I still see comments where people are like, why aren't you talking about Fubo anymore? I'm not talking about Fubo anymore because I just don't think the juice is worth the squeeze at this point, and I think there's better places to put your money. For me, at least, if it's something you still want to pay attention to, go right ahead. But I have spent 2-3 years with Fubo in the past where I'm just like, I've got to move on at this point. I've got to move on at this point. So SoFi is not that kind of stock to me right now. It's not that kind of company. It's not that. It is a company that I look that is going into very, very bigger, broader numbers here in the future. So I'm still very much attached to SoFi. So friends, I don't know what next week's going to bring for this market. The market is changing every week. Trump is saying one thing about the market. The Feds are saying another thing about the market, and that's what we're dealing with right now. So I want to wish all of you the best of luck. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Hopefully my voice is coming back here. But friends, thank you. I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.